Hi everyone. Welcome to I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren, and this video is here to take a look at how this month's portal energy, working with the master number 11 in numerology, combined with the energy of the eclipses that have been happening. We had one lunar eclipse last month and a second solar eclipse paired with a new moon this month in June, and how this portal between our eclipses is working with the numerological number of 11 with the month of June to help open a portal for each one of us uniquely to move through as a more evolved, spiritually evolved version of ourselves. Now, I will take a look at each one of the signs and go into a special message for you to really take a look at what you will need to release to be able to walk through this portal that Spirit is kind of holding open for you to really see the next step in your evolutionary growth. And what does that look like? That looks like a higher level of emotional fulfillment, more ease and being authentic to yourself, the ability to work with your signs' unique energies in conjunction with your unique spiritual abilities, hopes, and dreams. So you can combine these two to really unlock the abundance that is waiting for you on the other side of this doorway. And before I get into the actual readings for you guys, you can click on the timestamp in the link below, in the description box below, to actually see the readings for your specific sign. But I did pull a overarching kind of another message for all of us as a collective for what we really need to release to walk through this portal energy of June, to be able to step in July into the best versions of ourselves, into the selves that are really going to prepare for the second half of this year to really take full advantage of the actualization energy of 2022, which is coming up, in which we will be able to really step into our seat of personal power, as long as we really work with awareness for the second half of this year to unlock our own unique abilities and to understand where they fit into the greater picture with everybody else's. So the message that came up was surrender to setting limits. And it says, it is healthy to set boundaries in relationships. Practice expressing your needs, and remember that no is a complete sentence. And this is a hard lesson. This is one of the hardest lessons for myself to learn, and I am still in the process of learning this one. But surrender to setting limits means surrender the fear of having to say no, of having to be afraid to express what you really need. Because as we move forward into this next bigger version of ourselves, we're really going to become aware of what we need. And to understand that our needs are unique and different from the needs of everybody else. And that's a really core, I think, fundamental, I don't know if I'd say idea, but it's a fundamental perspective of really understanding that there are no two people on this earth whose needs are going to be exactly the same. And when we're talking about needs, we're talking about all aspects of our lives: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so one person's perspective on what they need in certain areas is going to be very different from another's. And this is really about this month specifically bringing you back to what you need. Bringing you back to the awareness of your unique abilities, your unique spiritual makeup, and the dreams and the desires that come with that. And those make up your needs. One person might have the ability to do something that requires a different set of needs. You know, somebody may have a very stressful job and they need more downtime on the weekends and in the evenings. Somebody may need more creative time because they are, they work in a creative field. You may need more alone time. You may need more time with interacting with people. It is all unique to us. There are people who need to focus more on their physical health and well-being because that actually transcends and moves through all their aspects of their life. When they look good, they also feel good. And they think good and think well. And so this is really about, I think, tapping in. This really, really highlights that element of this month, which is highlighting that number 11. And that number 11 looks like a number 1 and a number 1 side by side, really showing you the dynamic between yourself as a unique individual and the relationship to everybody else as their own unique individual, and understanding that it is okay to be your unique self. It is okay to express that. It is okay to have different needs in this person and to express those needs and to have those and to expect that those needs are met, as it is to respect that in everybody else and in your interpersonal relationships, and to understand that that is the dynamic that is constantly at play, and that you have to understand yourself before you can start to relate to others in a healthy, positive, and uplifting and elevating way. And that's what this month is pushing us to do. It's pushing us to come back to ourselves, to respect that we can set limits for ourselves. We can ask for our personal needs to be met, but we first have to understand what those are. And in order to do that, we have to understand ourselves. And then we can step through that door as a better version of that self. All right, guys, I hope you have a great month reconnecting with your unique self, reconnecting with all of those things that make you a special, divine being, a singularity among everyone else. And also that you see how in just getting back to being that best version of yourself and walking through this portal month with awareness, that in the coming months you'll understand that in just doing that, you are elevating the entire collective experience and truly being of service on a level that most of us only dream about feeling. All right, guys. Click on one of the timestamps in the description box below to see a very special message for your reading. I'm sorry, a very special, for your reading, for your sign. All right, bye guys. I will see you later in the month for additional messages. Bye. Hi, all my lovely Geminis. Welcome to your Gemini Sun, Moon, and Rising June New Moon Solar Eclipse 2021. So, for all of you, I hope you watched the little intro video. It goes a little bit more into detail as to why this new moon on June 10th is so important. But otherwise, we will jump right into your reading. So Gemini, this reading is really here to highlight what you are going to need to release to be able to step through this very powerful portal of your connection to spirit and what spirit is asking for you to step forward as, so that you can basically achieve the next level of your spiritual evolution. And why are we being asked to release something? Because it's very hard to bring in and receive when our arms are full. We need to put something down to be able to bring something in. And this, when we go through portals like this, when we go through kind of what I would call energetic upgrades, we are being pushed to exert and to interact and engage our free will with destiny. And what does that look like? That looks like taking our internal authentic self and engaging that directly with our external environment. And I will often bring or talk about our external environment as destiny, as the divine design, as what is out of our control to change, versus our internal, unique, spiritual, authentic selves, which is where our true power comes from. This is where we are able to initiate change. We are able to control our decisions and our actions and reactions to our external environment, and it's the seat of our free will. So we're always engaging our free will with destiny. And this month is really highlighting that interplay, that engagement. Now, Geminis, you are an air sign. You are a mutable air sign, which means that you are adapted by your birthright, by just simply having Gemini in one of your main chart placements, your birth chart placements, that you are highly suited and adapted to deal with change. And change is a very difficult concept for humans to embrace. And ironically enough, change is truly the only constant in our experience. And change is often without beyond our control to a certain extent when we're looking at it as part of our external self. Change can be brought to be on an internal level through, again, the choices that we make with the decisions to take action and how we decide to react to our external environment. But in knowing that you have this beautiful ability through just being born under the sign of Gemini to be able to be highly adaptable, to function in and with change, you're being called up at this time by Spirit to step into that role. So when I think of the zodiac signs, I think of them kind of like a small analogy to the greater collective human experience. So the zodiac signs, each zodiac sign has its own unique talents, has its own unique part of the puzzle to play. So if you're born under a certain sign, or you have a specific sign that is repeated over and over in your birth chart, you really are able to harness the power of that sign and are meant to live that into the greater collective, because other signs are weaker in those areas. And so you really have to kind of help by living the traits of your sign into our external environment. You get to lead by example. You get to show others how to utilize this aspect of the greater collective that you can work with easily. Now, on the other side of this, we then have the greater collective, which is where our individual unique self fits in and comes into play with then the destiny component of being born under specific signs and being given those attributes. So those attributes are meant to then highlight our individual, unique, singular abilities and hopes and dreams and desires. And this is one of those months where you're being called to reactivate and to be reminded of your destiny, of your birthright, of what you have, of this superpower to deal with change in a very fluid and adaptable and engaging way, so that then you can also utilize your own unique abilities and combine those together to fulfill your true unique destiny. So in kind of keeping your birthright superpower in mind, your ability to navigate change successfully, to do so in a way that allows you to benefit from change and to show others through that, through you taking action from that place, that change is not meant to be feared. That change is actually meant to be embraced, because this is where we grow. This is where the collective experience gets a chance to evolve, and we get to come into contact with new things. This is where the Gemini spirit of communication and being able to embrace, being able to talk to many different people and to kind of be that almost like a social butterfly and a gatherer of information as well. So you're almost like what I consider the bees of the zodiac. You go around, you collect all this information, and you're able, through your tie to your ruling planet of Mercury, able to communicate all of this varying information in new ways to help others navigate change, and to show how you can possibly take information and form it or see it or express it in different ways. Now, this reading specifically here starts with taking a look at the energy that you're sitting with now. We then look at the portal that you're being asked to step through, the energy that you're asked to really utilize as you move through releasing what you're currently sitting with, this old version of self, on June 10th, and moving on June 11th into what Spirit is opening up for you, this next evolutionary chapter where you'll get to step back into utilizing your gifts of being able to navigate change, while also being able to bring in some gift for yourself that will utilize your unique abilities and help you realize help provide clarity as to why you have specific hopes and dreams and needs. Down here we have 3 cards, and this is working with the triad of engagement. So we have a card for curiosity, a card for courage, and a card for contemplation. And this is engaging the triad of engagement, which is a tool that I've developed in my private practice to really help illuminate the importance of engaging your internal self in an authentic way with your external environment. And so we'll look at each one of these and how they kind of help unlock this gateway to go from your current self into this new heightened version of self. And then we'll look at additional messages from Spirit. And this is really where we're going to see kind of why you're being asked to release and move into the new, and what Spirit holds in store for you. So Gemini, what you're sitting with right now, I don't know if you can see this, but you have 2 moon cards here. And this deck is a very special deck for me. It arrived with, I think it was perhaps misprinted, I'm not sure. But what's interesting is that there are double duplicates of specific cards. And even though I've gone through this deck multiple times to see which ones are duplicates, I'm constantly shocked by they seem to change. They seem to evolve, and it may sound like woo-woo and crazy, but this is kind of a magical deck for me. It's a truth-telling deck, which is why I'm using it on kind of more of the current what is now, showing the shadow side to what is the light side of the portal that we're sitting on. And you guys have 2 duplicate cards of the moon, which is interesting because we're looking at the energy of the new moon, of this fresh start. And when we think of the new moon, we think of the fact that on the evening of the new moon, we do not see by the light of the moon. There is complete darkness. And this is really what I think you guys have been kind of sitting with this energy of being in the dark, of feeling and knowing that there's this new, the Wheel of Fortune sitting here, that there's this new energy that you're being asked to embrace change, embrace the new, but yet you're not able to see exactly where this is going, exactly what you need to do. You're kind of sitting in the dark. And the dark, the moon card specifically in the tarot for me represents basically the energy of not only intuition, but using your intuition and being asked by Spirit, can you walk this path on faith? You're being called forward by Spirit, but you can't quite see everything. And so you're being asked, in this picture, it's a lobster or a crayfish or however you see this, coming out of the water, being called by the light of the moon. And so he's being called out of his natural environment to then move forward onto land. And, it's in semi-darkness. He's not able to see. Even if there is the light of the moon, there's still the majority of what's in front of this creature is going to be in shadow. And so it's almost like you're being asked to move on faith. But that's a very difficult place. It's a very difficult energy to sit with. Because we oftentimes don't trust our own intuition. We don't trust our own connection to Spirit and to the divine. And we begin to doubt. Especially when we are sitting in darkness for too long. When we haven't seen the changes take form. We've been walking now outside of our original environment, and we've been walking in the new, and we're just kind of feeling our way out, but we still don't quite see the bigger picture. And this is where we can kind of really get stuck in our day-to-day, kind of coming into the Two of Pentacles here, which is the juggling of the physical tasks that we have to move through each day. And just kind of going through the motions. You're not really, and what's interesting here is actually this card is kind of mirroring in this deck, the depiction is a guy who looks like he's kind of come off of a ship and now is walking out of the sea and onto land that looks a little treacherous. There's a snake here and some spiky plants, and it looks almost like he's treading very carefully, similar to how this creature going out onto land that he can't quite see would be treading very carefully as well. And so there is this element of, with the sea and the water kind of reflecting your emotion, it's almost like you've walked away from your emotional core and have been kind of treading lightly in your physical world, trying to figure out where you fit, trying to figure out where this movement that you feel from the Wheel of Fortune is pulling you to go and why. And I think you guys have probably been sitting with this why, in this element of darkness. Why have certain things come to pass? Why have certain events happen? Why aren't I seeing the full picture? And meanwhile, you're just going through the motions. You've disconnected from this emotional engagement with what you're doing, and you're juggling. You're juggling, and you have a lack of clarity. And what Spirit is asking you with this new moon on June 10th is to embrace that darkness, to go within, and to reconnect directly with Spirit. Because the energy of your doorway is the 7th chakra. And it says Archangel Uriel, number 41. But the 7th chakra is your crown chakra. It is the highest chakra. So we start with the root chakra and we move all of the way up the body, and we end with the 7th chakra. And that is where we get direct intuitive downloads from the divine. I look here and see that in this image of Archangel Uriel, for me, shows that she's holding the book of knowledge, the book of wisdom. And that wisdom comes directly from her connection to the divine. And what you're being asked here to do is to release the fear and possibly that feeling of, I want to stop, I don't want to keep going. I don't see the way forward. And you're being asked to trust. You're being asked to walk this path on faith and to keep going. But instead of staying in this place where you're kind of disconnected from your day-to-day routine, now you're being asked to move forward. And what's on the other side of this door starts a little scary. It's the Five of Pentacles. It's showing a girl sitting in front of a locked door. And the key is right here for her, but she's not looking at that. And I feel like this is almost like what you guys are feeling here, is that you're looking through the portal and you're seeing the locked door. You're seeing that I can't have it all. If I walk through this portal and I keep walking this path on faith, the illusion is that I'm just going to hit another locked door. And I'm not going to have the key to get through. This is a card of feeling that you have a lack of abundance, that you're kind of left out in the cold, that you're locked out of your own ability for your connection to spirit to create abundance for your life. And what Spirit is saying is the whole reason why we have been keeping you in the dark and holding you in this place of, can you walk this path on faith, is because if you can get to the other side, you will end up being able to experience justice. There is going to be a divine balancing out of all of this work, of the fact that you put in this faith, of the fact that you had to walk through this darkness for quite some time. And you're going to see the benefits, because we go from the moon, which is darkness and faith and relying on intuition and your connection with spirit, to then we have the Ten of Pentacles, which is showing you that for all this time you thought you were just juggling these two pentacles. You thought you were going through the day-to-day stuff, and you had no idea what you were walking through, what destiny was pushing you with the Wheel of Fortune towards. And what it's pushing you towards is the ultimate manifestation of your legacy. That is what the Ten of Pentacles is. The Ten of Pentacles is the completion of you being able to provide abundance for yourself and for spirit to aid in that in the physical world. So the Ten of Pentacles really harnesses that legacy, the abundance on a legacy level. That is you being rewarded for hard work on a career path, you being rewarded for, being dedicated to striving towards saving for a home, and waiting for the right partner, and waiting and knowing and being called in certain directions to go in specific ways. And what Spirit is saying is they will help you with that key to unlock that door. And what's on the other side is a different version of the Two of Pentacles. And I love this card. I love this depiction of the Two of Pentacles. Very different from this one. Here it looks like she's balancing a purse and it looks like she's balancing, lassoing almost like a star in the sky, and balancing both. And what I always feel when I see this card is that it's that element of juggling our spiritual selves with our physical selves. And it, to me, also mirrors the Justice card here, and that there is this balance, that we do live in the physical as much as we live in the spiritual. And when we really focus on the spiritual, it will be realized in the physical as well. And that's what Spirit's asking you to release, is that fear, that tie to, I want to stop. I can't walk any further on faith. I don't want to embrace change. If I embrace change, I might be down and out. I might be locked out of, I might try this next door in the dark and realize that I can't get through. And what Spirit is telling you is that no, I am here. I have the book of eternal knowledge, and I will help you see that the key is right here, and that there is going to be a balancing out now. That you're going to be able to understand why, in activating your gift of being able to navigate change and kind of walk through the dark, it's going to illuminate your legacy. It's going to illuminate and bring in, you're basically being given a gift of thank you from the universe. That as we move down into the triad of engagement and we focus on curiosity, this is really where we engage with changing our perspective, with being curious towards our external environment, from one of fear and anxiety because we can't control what happens in our external environment, to one of optimism and receptivity because we understand that this is where destiny this is where we get to kind of bring out ourselves to play with destiny and to start to feel, where do we fit? And in your seat of curiosity, you have surrender to creativity. And it says, let your imagination soar. Stay open to all creative ideas about how to pursue a dream or solve a problem. And that's kind of flowing right into here, is that perhaps you have been trying to, again, just do the day-to-day, and you've forgotten about your creativity. You've forgotten that in sitting in this darkness, that direct tie to spirit is also the direct tie to inspiration. And that it's okay to follow now, in coming into this portal and out the other side. It's okay to be curious as to where you've been feeling the need to be creative. And where it's really saying here is, stay open to all creative ideas about how to pursue a dream or solve a problem. And this is what Spirit's telling you. We have the answers here. We will illuminate those answers for you through your own creativity. But you have to become emotionally connected to what you're doing again. You have to bridge the doorway of fear, of this fear of lack of abundance, of fear that if you follow what you want, if you surrender to this, and you keep moving forward on faith, that what the universe was going to bring in for you is your legacy, is what is going to create that abundance you're seeking. But you have to stay open to it. And then we have, in your seat of courage, we have a change in the wind. And this card is so perfect for you, Gemini, because it's exactly speaking to what your natural gift of being able to navigate change and to be able to communicate change in a positive way. And this is showing exactly that. This card shows that there are times of change, and we can't prevent that. We can't prevent external change from happening. But what's beautiful is that when we walk on faith and we understand that change is necessary, is a very necessary part of our experience and the evolutionary growth of ourself and the collective experience, that we should have courage to act in the face of change. That yes, we may have been expecting something to happen, or we may be wanting to cling to a specific ideal or idea of as we're walking through the darkness, what we are walking through or walking towards. But in reality, that can change at any moment. But we have to have faith to take courageous action even as things change. Because the irony of that is that we also then get to take part in that change. We get to control the change from a perspective, the only way that we can, which is from engaging our internal self and making decisions from a place of authenticity to engage with that change. And as you do, the universe, spirit, is going to be able to continue to provide you answers. It's going to continue to show clarity as to why this change is coming in. And then we have, for your contemplation, we have synchronicity. And it says, are you noticing the signs of synchronicity that the spirit world has been sending to you at this time? People and situations in your life are not just appearing by coincidence. In reality, they're being guided to you from the spirit world to help you for a specific reason. And I think when we're looking at the concept of contemplation, contemplation is where we reflect. This is where we integrate lessons learned. This is where we take a look at what we've been curious about, how we've taken action, and what are the consequences. And to also contemplate and reflect on your current, to reflect basically on the past, but also to reflect on your current status now. And with synchronicity, I think that this is really showing, especially with the kind of concept of walking in the dark and walking this path on faith, there have probably been signs and again, people from the past popping up, or you seeing the number 1111, or you something failing and not quite working out right, but something else is. And these are the guides. These are the little pieces of if you think of being in a dark room and all of a sudden on the floor you start to see the little lights illuminate the way forward. That's what these synchronicities are. And so what you're being asked to reflect on here as to help you walk through this door is what things have been lining up for you recently. And over the past year specifically, what are some things that have kind of come up that seem to connect? Perhaps they are ideas. Perhaps they are ideas from the past that bring up points of creativity that you've forgotten about. Or perhaps there is a new dream that has come to light recently that you didn't even consider before because now something has changed. And now you're being asked to reflect on what those aspects were, where, every time you thought of this dream, what appeared with it. Because then I move up here to the additional messages from Spirit. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually read not the entire description that goes with each one of these cards, but there is a little beginning descriptive paragraph that I think is beautiful, a beautiful description of what each of these cards represents. So you have 19, an invitation to connect, and we have 42, the fifth ray of intellectual knowledge. And I love both of these cards. First of all, these really fit with you, Gemini, especially this intellectual knowledge. You are that gatherer of information. And the number 42 breaks down in numerology. If you add the 4 plus 2 and reduce that down to a single digit, it's the number 6. And the number 6 is, I look at it as a number of spiritual service. It's the number of working with others from a spiritual vantage point. And I also think that really fits with your sign, that not only are you able to navigate change, but you're able to also collect information and disseminate it the same way that a bee would and communicate it, and be able to communicate it in a way that brings others in to what you are trying to show. That you're not just communicating to the ether or to yourself, you're meant to share your knowledge with others. And then we have an invitation to connect in number 19. And the number 19 actually breaks down to the number 1, which is a fresh start. It's that, I love the number 19 because it holds the number 1 and the number 9 together, and it's kind of the end. It holds all the possibilities of the endings and the beginnings together. So it shows the fresh start, but with all of the lessons learned from the 10, from going from 1 to 9. And 9 is kind of that magic number learning all the lessons needed in a specific cycle. And with the invitation to connect, I think that directly ties right here to the 7th chakra of you're being asked to connect directly to the divine. You're being asked to continue. You've been asked up until now to walk this path on faith so that you could develop that intuitive side to yourself. It's almost like being asked to be blind for a while so that when you come back out, you have this heightened vision. And for you, you were asked to walk this so that you were forced to reconnect internally with the divine and to walk, basically to trust when the divine says walk here, you have almost no choice but to walk there. When that synchronistic light lines up in the dark, you were almost given no choice but to follow it. And so now what Spirit's asking you is, this is just that next step for you to see why and where we were leading you. And I think it has something to do with unlocking this key to your creative center. So let's see here. You have 19, an invitation to connect. And it says, love exists throughout our universe. Many loving beings that do not belong to the human race exist in worlds beyond the earthly realm. Among these are those who are aware of the spiritual plight of humanity and are willing and able to help us move forward. Unlike those who close their minds because they fear the unknown, you have an open mind and an open, receptive heart. Beings from other worlds recognize you as a receptive channel for their unconditionally loving assistance in this world. You will both benefit from this individually and help the planet. So you are being offered an invitation to connect. And whether or not you believe that there are beings in other realms, the way that I read this is more that you're being asked, again, to connect directly to self, to have this internal, to re-engage with that internal confidence of with your own compass, your own internal compass. And also understanding that we do have a connection to the divine. That there is this element of destiny that comes into play with our free will. And that right now, you're being asked to really step into your ability to deal with change. I think it's beautiful that this little description actually talks about that it says that, unlike those with closed minds because they fear the unknown, you have an open mind and open receptive heart. You don't fear the unknown. You have this great ability that's now needing to be called forward so that you can see the direction of where to apply it, of why you're being called up to service and to utilize it. And we have this 5th ray of intellectual knowledge, number 42. And this says, if I can find it here, the 5th ray of intellectual knowledge has come to you as a spiritual gift. You are being given the ability to find information you need, understand understand systems that impact your life, and find clarity in any issue that has seemed unclear or overwhelming. You shall sort the truth from the lies and learn what you need to know. The Archangel Raphael now assists you in integrating the blessings of the 5th ray. And I think, again, this lines up perfectly with what I was saying, is that you are being given the ability to find the information you need. It's all contained in this book. And it's being ready to basically be given to you. And it's going to be on you to be able to share that with others through your creativity. I have this feeling that what this portal is going to unlock for you is finally stepping into the light of aha. I think you've been traveling in the dark for quite some time, and you are going to be given a piece of information. If you can release this fear, this tie of stepping into your creativity, release this fear of really listening to your intuition, and release the fear of knowledge that you are connected to something higher than yourself. that you haven't just been walking through a dark wasteland. Everything has happened for a purpose to you. And now you're being shown why. You're being shown the legacy that you were meant to lead through sharing this experience, building on it, and being able to help others navigate a time of great change by being able to be given this information and understand how to disseminate it and communicate it as your divine birthright gift allows you to do in a way that is going to be of service to others. In addition to bringing in the physical, tangible abundance that you're seeking for yourself. So you will be at service both to others, to the greater collective, as well as to yourself at the same time. All right, Gemini, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. But I specifically hope that after moving through this new moon portal and moving into the second half of this month, that you really start to see clarity in areas that have seemed so dark, and that you start to feel that connection again with your external environment. You are no longer locked out. You are now being asked and invited back in. You are asked to walk this path on faith for a specific reason, and now you're being asked and called up to communicate your experience and to utilize it in a way that will be of service to help navigate this great time of change that our collective is now going through. All right, Gemini, I will see you in July for more readings. Have a fantastic rest of the month. Bye.